Well, my full name is Kuhle.
Hi, my name is Atlegang, but I go by Atli. People around me call me Atli.
Which my granny named me that, but I never use it. Nobody ever calls me that, which I feel bad about, but I don't, yeah. So I'm Kuhle. Kuhle is my name. Okay, so I work for a bank, so I'm in the finance industry.
I work in the communications field in the public sector.
Well, I don't know.
I hate this question because I feel like a lot of the time when people like ask this question, you're sort of expected to answer it in a very tangible way.
I want to say my degrees, but I feel like now that like I'm in like now that I'm working, it just doesn't seem as important anymore. It was a big deal for me at the time, and like I don't want to take away from that because there are a lot of people who would love to go to varsity who are unable to. And yes, it is the reason why I am where I am. You know, it was a step into the door.
Like, this is the thing and these are the results. But for me, my biggest accomplishment is my inner growth.
My biggest accomplishment is that I went through this and I didn't die.
Learning to embrace change has been.
I think it's just about accepting the way that it is. I think it's also just not trying to compare it to anyone else's.
Yeah. To me, it looks like taking everything that you were told is wrong with your body as a woman and embracing it.
I think it's being able to love the parts that you might not think are the most desirable.
So for me, we're going back to my whole shorts incident.
I really hated my legs. I remember my mom, I was 13 years old, and my best friend Rolani, she was having a birthday party. So obviously we were all gonna be dressed up in like summery wear. We had our bikinis with us and everything. And my mom had bought me these shorts that I had never worn outside. Like I would wear them in like at home, but I had never worn them outside. And my mom was like, well, you're wearing these shorts today. And I was like, nah, babes, I am not wearing this.
I wore shorts now all the time. Literally, like in high school, whatever event, everyone, like nobody would even ask, like, what are you wearing? I'd be like, oh, you already know. It's shorts and something.
Realizing that your body is one with living inside and appreciating and treating with respect.
Taking what you really didn't like about yourself and what you were taught to hate about yourself and embracing it fully and confidently.
You know, it is obviously easier said than done, especially as women. You know, we're taught that only a certain kind of body is one that would be desirable, and you're constantly like, oh, I hate my arms, I hate my stomach, I hate this.
It doesn't mean that you can fall back in, that you can't fall back into that thinking of not liking that particular body part, because there was a point where I actually fell into that space of not liking my legs and not wanting to show them.
And I think it's time for us to sort of just like let all of those things go, you know, like just like unlearning everything else. I think we need to unlearn that and realize that, dude, like our bodies will look different, and that doesn't mean that one is better than the other. Everything. I think, you know what, I've come a long way. I spent a long time in high school very insecure, you know, and I think there was a lot of self-hate, a lot of just being very hard on myself.
I really love the fact that what women bring to the table is very abstract. I say this because I think for the longest time, what was seen as masculine were always things like strength and like logic and like, but because now as women we've learned that we can do that as well.
It's taken me a long time to be comfortable with my femininity and also defining it for myself. You know, I think we all go through awkward phases and all of these things just to try and figure out, you know, how do you want to define what it means to be a woman to you?
What we have could never be bottled and sold. It could never be taught. It could never be learned. We just it's very, very abstract, and I love the fact that it's unique. It's my womanhood.
It's the fact that I can choose for myself what I want to be and who I want to be as a woman, and not have to necessarily fit into this mold of, okay, you must be quiet and you need to be respectful and don't swear and all of these things. I'm like, I'll swear if I want to. And secondly, like all of these things of, oh, we need to shave out. I haven't shaved my legs since I was 17 years old. I don't care to. Like, I don't like, these are not things that I care about.
And you just know when a space was touched by a woman, you know, but you can't even pinpoint what it is.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about like my womanhood and what it is to be a woman. It's very unique.
My womanhood and my femininity is that I can define it for myself and I can be whoever I want to be. What isn't really?
That we're boxed in a way that men aren't. The dichotomy, you're either a hoe or you're like angelic.
And I think in the society that we live in right now, there's a lot of pressure to be everything. You know, I think besides obviously the obvious of gender-based violence and rape and all of those things, obviously that goes without saying that, you know, that's the biggest struggle specifically in South Africa. I think also just, you know, you have to prove that you're smart. You have to prove that, oh, you're pretty without makeup and a wig. And, oh, what do you look like natural? Yes, you have to have an afro.
You're either very you're a tomboy or you're a girly girl. You know, so we're boxed. We can never be everything all at once, and that is, oh my goodness, it is so detrimental and damaging to a woman, to a young girl's mind, this idea that you have to be boxed. Because not only do you then box yourself, you box the people around you, and when you box the woman around you, you rob yourself of the opportunity to learn about people and their complexities.
Yes, you have to have your own job, and oh no, please don't want too much money, but respect your husband and, like, you know, be respectful to him and have his kids and make sure you're a stay-at-home mom, because his mom was a stay-at-home mom and took care of them. It's like you can never just be in one lane. You have to be everything. We want to be all these people and we want to prove ourselves, and it's tough. You know, like I see it every day on my stories. Guys will be like, oh, ask your girlfriend what she thinks about South Africa getting the 70 billion loan and see what you're dating. And I'm like, why aren't we given the space to not know everything?
So I hate that we're taught to box ourselves, and then because we box ourselves, then we box other people, and then that just, it ruins our uniqueness. You know, it ruins our human experience with each other as women. Outside, okay, so for my family, you know, my girls, you know, I'm very close to the women in my life, you know.
Very. It's tough for me to choose like a certain person, because I feel like all the women in my life inspire me in different ways.
All of them have taught me so much about being a woman, have taught me so much about being a better version of me.
I think with all my friends and my mom and my aunts and my sister, they all inspire me in different ways. You know, like I could look at my mom and think she is the kind of mother that I would want to be for my kids.
And then outside of the home, I'm very much inspired by, so there's a podcast that I listen to. It's called She Brigade. And she interviews women, and it's usually it's a career sort of focused podcast, but she interviews women from different, you know, sort of career paths. And there's so many women on that podcast. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, where have you been my whole life?
There's a poem by Alicia Harris, and it's about her mom, and it's like, there's no love that's more important than sacrificial love. And every time I listen to that poem, I always think of my mother, because I think that's how she is too. And I think, you know, she's the reason why I believe in God. She's the reason why I'm still alive and, you know, made it through varsity. And I remember I used to always hate the fact that I was so like her. Like I would open my mouth and my mother would come out and I'd be like, oh. But now the more I go older, I'm like, fuck it, I love it.
She interviewed Khomotso Musiane, who's the brand manager for Smashbox, and just those women, their journeys and how they got to be where they are today is incredibly mind-blowing to me. The complexities of what they had to do to get to where they are, but also understanding that they're all just winging it. Like we're all just winging it. That's literally what we're doing. That's what I learned from them.
And like then I think of like my sister and how unapologetically herself she is, and how she rides for her friends, she rides for her family. She's someone who's very outspoken. She's cool. I think she's the coolest girl I know. I want to be as cool as her. She inspires me to be unapologetically myself. And then I even look at you and how you are so unashamed to just be yourself and to be vulnerable and to just share yourself with people. And especially on the socials where everyone wants to be perfect and everything needs to be aesthetically pleasing, I look at that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I could do that. I wish I could be that open and that free to just be myself.
From a content creation perspective and like Black-owned women businesses, love Mpumi Ledwaba, love Yols Jawe, and more recently, K-Arms. Like, yeah, K-Arms, yeah, in my mind, she's my girl. She's really, really awesome. I mean, I know with lockdown, like she's kept me sane. She'll have lives like every other day, and they'll be random, and she'll never save them. But we've created such a safe space, like in those lives, that we all recognize each other in those lives. I feel like is the kind of woman that I aspire to be. So yeah.
So I think it's tough for me to pick one person because I get inspiration from all the women that are in my life. It's why they're in my life. I think we're all amazing and we're fucking kicking ass.
Amazing woman like Bunala. To be me.
I like
that. To be authentic. And it's still a struggle for me, but I think it's because I'm trying to figure out what authenticity means for me, because I can spot it on somebody else, and it's not always easy for you to spot that on yourself. But I think learning that all the weird things about me make me ugly, and that's okay, and that is loved and it is appreciated. Yeah, that's what I've learned from my community of women.
To be more empathetic and patient and supportive. A lot of times, like back, even like in high school and stuff, everyone's bitchy, everyone's in competition with each other, all of these things. And I think the more I built like strong friendships and strong and genuine connections with the women in my life, the more I've realized and learned to just be more supportive and more of a cheerleader for them for anything that they want to do. Also because my patience has always been very like and a lot of times, your friends go through things with like guys and stuff and you just like don't understand, just like, and I'd always be like to my friends, you're boring me with this conversation. Like I don't want to talk about this anymore. I'm bored. But they care. And it's important to them. I've just learned to understand where people are coming from and understand that everyone has their own thing. It doesn't mean that I need to dismiss it, and just be there for people.
Yeah, the fact that everybody loves me, I just show up and I'm loved.
Yeah,
I am valuable because the fact that I'm breathing right now makes me valuable. You already know. I didn't even have to say it. It starts with a T and it ends with a K. Okay.
Oh, like this with these here. You see these clothes here, and okay.
Yeah. I twerk every day, guys. I twerk every single day. I like within the first 2 hours of my day, like I'm already like I'm twerked or I'm moving my hips.
I always tell you, I feel like such a basic bitch without nails on. I just can't. do it. My hands are small, and I think with tips on, I just feel like it elongates them, makes me feel like an adult, makes me feel like if I have kids and I need to smack them, they're not gonna laugh at me like, "Oh, mom, you have a baby hand." You know what I mean?
Guys, I really don't have the ass to be talking as much as I talk, but like I've just learned that you know what, me, I like this twerking thing.
Yes. Everything, makes me feel like a bad bitch and makes me feel like a boss bitch because that's what I am. That's what I am on the inside.
That's right. This is legit. That's why I was waiting for this question. Okay, so surely we're done now. You're not a crybaby. I would really
to be kind to herself. I think I would tell her that it's gonna be okay and you're gonna figure it out, and don't be so tough and don't have all these walls up. In the words of Jasmine Mans, never be afraid to love in permanent ink.
Yeah, I would really tell my younger self that like you're not a crybaby in the way the world says that you are. Baby, you are. I'm a crybaby. I am a crybaby, but it's not. I don't have to attach it to that negative connotation. I don't have to. It doesn't have to be. It's not a bad thing. Being emotional is not a bad thing.
She's beautiful and that she can do whatever she wants to do.
It's actually strength, and you should actually be very grateful, Atli, that you have that within you, that you can express such a deep emotion, and that my personality is not too much.
Always been my biggest critic. I think always. I think in terms of everything, in terms of school, in terms of how I look, in terms of what I'm wearing, in terms of, oh, do boys like me? All of it. I think I've always been very tough on myself. It's gotten a lot better. Like I don't validate myself in terms of what other people think of me. I don't validate myself in terms of what I'm supposed to look like or be like. You know what? I was very angry in high school. Like I was very, very upset. And I'm not quite sure why. But I was very angry at everybody and myself. And I think, a lot of people probably say I was a bitch, which I was. I mean, I was a bitch in high school. Um, and I think I acted out because of that. You know what I mean? And so I would definitely, if I could tell my high school self, especially like in 2010, in grade 9, when I was 15, I would be like to her, listen, I know like you're going through a lot. I know you feel very upset, but it's gonna be okay. And don't let those bitches define who you are. I think they are. I don't think there are enough, but I think they are. Especially in the company I'm working in, which is big on Black women right now, especially, well, just Black people generally, but especially Black women. The CEO of the Africa regions, basically, she's a woman, and I remember me and well, my friends now, we was all like in love with her. She's in charge of 18 countries, right? Wow. 18 African countries. She oversees all of them. She's that bitch. Do you get what I mean? And I think it was so refreshing to see that and know that, okay, we can be her. Yeah. There are a lot of women I see at work where I'm like, yes, yes, I want to be you. I want to be you. Tell me how to get there. But I think it is refreshing to know that it's something that's been actively worked on, and I can look around and see myself. You'll find of the 9, 8 of them is Black girls, and there's one guy, Yeah. And yes, and obviously it's like it's not even a thing of we're just ordinary average Black girls. These are girls with masters in applied maths. These are people with engineering degrees, and like they are smart women, just having conversations with them. They're women who know they feel. They are women who are smart, who are willing to learn, who are willing to engage. They're all women that I love, and I'm like, oh my word, I want to learn from you. You know what I mean? And so I think that's another thing I appreciate is that we're not just quotas. We're not just there for, okay, we've got the black mark. These are people who are actually smart and deserve to be there.
Yeah.
Women are smart, especially in technology. I think there's not enough girls who know that they can be in the tech space or the science space or, you know, all those male dominated spaces. And it's nice to see people where it's like, no, I am a chick, and yes, I am in the tech field, and yes, I am a developer. I'm super techie. And they look fabulous while doing it. In my mind, what I would really love to do is like go back to like home, like Eastern Cape, and like create an initiative where girls know they can come into the technology space and they can be as technical as they want. Because I think another thing is that like a lot of times when you're a chick and you do come into like IS and stuff, people want you to be an analyst. I don't want that. I want girls to know that they can code. I want girls to know that they can test and be designers and be data analysts and all of those things. See that and see that they are reflected and there are people like them and there are people that they can relate to and talk to about whatever struggles they might face being black and being a woman and being in the tech space. I think as women, sometimes we can be our own worst enemy. I think sometimes we feel like we need to be in competition with each other. And I think we can be very judgy towards each other. And I think, you know, if we can cut that down, and I think we are moving towards where a lot of women are supporting other women, even if they don't know them. And I think if we could just, you know, open up the dialogues, you'd find that a lot of times we are more alike than we are different.
This question, I think, and it's gonna sound so cliche, but like you really need to start on the inside. You really do need to start on the inside though, because I think a lot of the time women struggle to bring other women on the table because of issues they have with themselves, and then they spill over to issues they have with other women, and being a gatekeeper. As a woman, you need to figure out who you are, what do you like, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, so that you know what you bring to the table, right? And when you know what you bring to the table and you know yourself and you're comfortable with what you bring to the table, when you see another woman step into the room and you are able to look at them from a place of, I see your strengths, I see what you can add to this table that I couldn't add, come through.
I don't want us to only come together when a woman has been raped or killed or any of those horrible things that keep happening to us. I think we should come together for everything and anything, you know. I think we should cheer on each other, and I think we should encourage that and not always want men to validate what we're doing. We'd find that, oh my gosh, we can actually all get along and we can actually all bond over things, and we're alike in so many ways.
It's much easier to make space for other women at the table when you know who you are and what you can bring in your limitations, and therefore can love the next woman or be rooting for the next woman, because you know what they can bring to the table is unique. Also, just putting your hand up for your sister who struggles to put their hand up for themselves.
I think we need to stop judging each other on how we decide to live our lives. I think if we could do that, I think it would be a step forward to bringing everyone to the table. And I think also it's every woman's responsibility also to stretch out a helping hand.
Passing over work to the next, if you know you can't do something as great as the other person can do it, passing over work to the next person, that's not easy, because that requires you to let go of your ego and that thing of like, I can do it myself and give me, because there's so few of us at the table. There's so few hours at the table. You're trying to do your best. You're trying to like shine, you know, you're trying to be that person that you feel like, if I pass this on to the next person, they're gonna think I'm incompetent, and that's why I want to pass it on to the next person. But really, we shouldn't care what they think. We should care more about bringing other women onto the table, about that, because once we bring those women, we automatically also rise, and we rise together when we do that.
We could all be at the table, because I think the table is big enough for all of us to eat, you know.
So much for allowing me to be part of this series.
Thank you.
Thank
I can't wait till
you.
you were famous and like, doing the most.